Before the war reached its shores, the Philippines, an American commonwealth preparing for independence, bustled with promise. Manila, the pearl of the Orient, gleamed with modern optimism. Few imagined how quickly that light would dim. In 1935, the Commonwealth of the Philippines began a 10-year transition to independence, scheduled for July 4, 1946. The government built institutions, expanded schools, and trained a citizen army, guided by General Douglas MacArthur's defense plans. Washington and Manila anticipated that if war came, forces would withdraw to the Bataan Peninsula and Corregidor Island, War Plan Orange 3, buying time for reinforcements. The wider world, however, was changing fast. Across Asia, Imperial Japan advanced, Manchuria, China, French Indochina. The Philippines sat astride vital sea lanes, strategically unavoidable. On December 8, 1941, hours after Pearl Harbor, Japanese aircraft struck Clark and Iba airfields, catching many planes on the ground. Landings followed at Lingayen Gulf and Layman Bay. To spare civilians, Manila was declared an open city on December 26. Japanese troops entered on January 2, 1942. Under USAFFE, United States Army Forces in the Far East, Filipino Commonwealth troops, Philippine Scouts, and American units fell back to Bataan and the island fortress of Corregidor. They fought delaying actions, the Abukay-Mauban line, the battles of the points and the trail, holding under jungle heat, malaria, and dwindling supplies. At Corregidor's Malinta Tunnel, the Voice of Freedom broadcast rallied a nation with daily reports from the front. By April, the defenders were exhausted. On April 9, 1942, around 76,000 troops, mostly Filipino, with American comrades, surrendered on Bataan. Less than a month later, Corregidor fell. The archipelago was under occupation, though not all would bow. Before silence returned, the Voice of Freedom sent one last message. Bataan has fallen, the world will long remember. Tens of thousands of Filipino and American prisoners were forced to march more than 100 kilometers, often without food, water, or rest. Beatings, shootings, and neglect claimed many lives along the road. Survivors remembered the thirst most of all, the heat, the dust, the fear of falling behind. From the rail yards at San Fernando to Camp O'Donnell, disease and starvation continued their grim toll. Japan installed a military administration, then a nominally independent Second Philippine Republic under Jose P. Laurel in 1943. The Kempeitai, Japan's military police, enforced control. Propaganda promised a greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere. Schools introduced Nippon-Go lessons, and newspapers carried carefully screened stories. Daily life meant scarcity. Occupation currency, dubbed Mickey Mouse money, inflated quickly. Rice disappeared into black markets. People bartered jewelry for cassava or camote. Families hid radios to hear forbidden Allied broadcasts. Many learned to live with less, and with constant fear. At Fort Santiago and other prisons, detainees were interrogated and tortured. Women and girls suffered under the system of sexual slavery, euphemistically called comfort stations. Civilians navigated impossible choices, trying to keep children fed while avoiding suspicion. Across Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao, resistance spread. The Hukbalahap, the People's Army Against Japan, formed in central Luzon to fight occupiers and protect peasant communities. Groups like the Hunters ROTC and Markings guerrillas gathered intelligence, sabotaged rail lines, and guided Allied submarines to hidden coves for resupply. In many places, remnants of USAFFE organized into island commands, linking up by clandestine radio. Women were crucial. Josefa Llanes Escoda organized relief and clandestine aid until her arrest and death. Guerrilla leaders like Remedios, Commander Liwaiwe, Gomez Paraiso took to the field. Journalists such as Yay Panlilio relayed intelligence. From exile, President Quezon, and after his death in 1944, President Sergio Osmeña, pressed the Philippine cause abroad, while General MacArthur, having escaped Corregidor in 1942, vowed, "I shall return." In October 1944, the Allies returned at Leyte. Filipino guerrillas guided landing craft through reefs and swamps, harried Japanese positions, and helped liberate towns. At sea, one of history's largest naval battles, Leyte Gulf, raged across Surigao Strait, off Samar, and in the Sibuyan Sea. It marked Japan's last major fleet action and saw the first organized kamikaze attacks, deadly strikes that signaled a desperate turn in the war. As the beachheads expanded, supply lines reopened. The promise made in 1942 became reality, but liberation would be brutal and costly. The main blow fell on Luzon in January 1945. While General Yamashita withdrew most forces to the mountains, naval troops in Manila dug in against orders. What followed was a month of street-to-street fighting, one of the war's most destructive urban battles in the Pacific. By the end, Manila lay shattered, and more than 100,000 civilians were dead, victims of bombardment and massacres by retreating Japanese units. Elsewhere, guerrillas and Allied troops freed prisoners in daring raids, most famously at Cabanatuan, where over 500 American POWs were rescued with Filipino help. On the seas, hell ships carrying POWs in horrific conditions took additional lives. Liberation was coming, but it came through fire. With occupation ended, the Philippines faced ruins and grief. War crimes trials sought accountability. General Yamashita's conviction established command responsibility. In 1946, the Commonwealth became the Independent Republic of the Philippines. Recovery was slow. Veterans fought for recognition and benefits for decades, while families rebuilt homes and lives from rubble. Across the archipelago, memory endures on Bataan's slopes, in Manila's shattered streets, in the names etched at kapas. Each April 9th, Araw ng Kagitingan honors the courage of soldiers, guerrillas, and civilians who endured, resisted, and rebuilt. From darkness, the nation rose.